At least it's too easy to speak on ISIS or Daesh because everybody call them as bad people. So it's not so problematic. It makes my job easier. But beyond that, as Dave just mentioned and the other speakers during the panel, although this title is about all MENA region, Middle East and Northern Africa, as you can imagine, since we are in Turkey and we specifically study research on, conduct research on Syria and Syrian civil war and its effects. And since the title is determining the actors of the new security architecture, I think to speak on a panel on the issue is something like fortune telling. I mean, in Turkey, we have a habit for drinking Turkish coffee. We close it, and after getting cold, we have just open the cup and look on the cup and to see the future and talk about the future. It seems to me something like that because the war is ongoing and the conflict is ongoing. The civil war with warring parties, with different conflicts in one civil war and affects the region. So it's too early to talk about the security architecture. During the discussions yesterday, roundtable discussions, we prefer to talk about arrangements, just as mentioned during the plenary session, opening session. If we talk about the arrangements, that's acceptable, so we can talk about actors. But so in order to analyze the issue, we need to look the history of the region. So notoriously, the region is known as the most penetrated region by global powers during the last century. So interruption of penetration of global powers is a kind of problematic and doesn't have any capacity to produce solutions or peace in the region. So that's to say, the actors of the future, after arranging political and diplomatic dimension, when we move to the security, the third dimension, security dimension, so we can talk about the issue with the regional actors mainly and some state actors. Undoubtedly, state actors in the region should be pillars of the new architecture or new arrangements. So the problem is the record of the actors during the civil war. So we record them for the future arrangements, and in future, when the time comes for arranging the new structure, the record will matter. It is the lesson from the history. I mean, it happened in Balkans like that, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and some other conflicts. The records really matter for the future arrangements. So what is the issue for the record? The main issue to be unlawful or to be lawful. If any actor during the civil war is unlawful, it means in future they wouldn't be so legitimate or acceptable on the one hand. On the second hand, which actor lets the international global actors penetrate to the region, that in future I do assume the blame will be on the table for these actors. So I prefer problematic actors for the future arrangements, not the non-problematic ones. Undoubtedly, let's say some all state actors, the current states will be on the table for the future. But what about the non-state actors or problematic actors? So for problematic actors, actually there are three kinds of actors. One is state actors, the second is non-state actors, and the third one, proclaimed so-called state actors, I mean state actor, ISIS, Daesh. As a state actor, the problematic one, unfortunately, is Syria, because some war crimes in Syria might be on the table. So it is also another obstacle for the current diplomatic issues, I guess. But there are some clues that we are about to overcome that problems, at least temporarily. That's not bad. I mean, looking back to the Astana process, there are some productive hints for overcoming this problem at least temporarily, to overcome the issue. As for the non-state actor, as mentioned during the panel, I mean PKK affiliated organization YPG and its connection with the YPG's connection with the PKK terrorist organization really matters for the problem, and it is engagement with global powers and manipulating the current situation. I mean concerns for manipulating the current situation and just trying to legitimize them to fight by fighting against ISIS couldn't be sufficient in future, because it might need changing the ethnic structure in the region. But the main issue for myself is ISIS, Daesh, whatever you call, and their role in future. Undoubtedly, because of the consensus and because being common target of all parties in the region, I do believe ISIS will be overcome. I can't say why, when, the time, how long does it take, but it is so obvious that since the common enemy of all parties, ISIS will be overcome, will be defeated. But it will be only the territorial defeat of ISIS, and there will be some remnants or leftovers of ISIS. Three kinds of leftovers might be problematic in future. The first one is ISIS fighters, regardless of whether they are foreign fighters or local fighters. Regardless of that, fighters, remnants of them will be problematic in the region, in Syria and in Iraq, as well as in the region. There are lots of indicators for Turkey as of now, their effects to Turkish security. And the second issue would be ideology/religion. Its perspective for militant Salafist approach also will be on the table. Even if after ISIS loses its territory, that would be problematic, and we need to deal with this problem. And the last but not the least issue will be violence. And the violence wouldn't be a problem only for Syria or Iraq, but also for the region, as well as for the old globe. And the violence occurred, produced by ISIS will have been spreading throughout the world as of now by the waves. We only have been experiencing the first wave in the region, including Turkey, for the last 2 years, 2 or more years we have been experiencing, and these waves just spreading out by waves to the rest of the world. So, the main issue, I would argue that the state actors will be very important in future for the security of the region, but I can easily express my concern for the problematic actor in the field, in the region, which is ISIS and its remnants. Thanks to the other speakers, they talked about other possible problematic actor, PKK affiliated organization, because that would be another problem in the region. Unfortunately, even if we solve diplomatic and political problems, still manipulations during the civil war might result in other problems in the region in future. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you so much.